People of Wallsend, the Well in Newcastle, Australia. My name is Sam Leonor, and I am really honored that you asked me to spend these few minutes with you talking about Peter walking on water. When I sat here, I realized that I've got this beautiful Australian memento right behind me, or next to me. I didn't put it there on purpose. It always hangs there in my office. It is not a prop today to show you how much I appreciate and love all of you. I already do, because it hangs there all the time. Isn't that nice? So you get to see this while I talk to you today. Anyway, today, the story of Peter walking on water. The first thing that is really important for us to remember is that this is not the story of Peter walking on water. It is the story of Jesus walking on water. There are 4 stories of Jesus in the Bible, the 4 Gospels. 3 of them tell the story of Jesus walking on water, but only one of them, Matthew, includes Peter in the story. So that should be a signal to us that this, as well as many other of the stories in the Bible, are not really about something else. It's always about Jesus. The Bible is trying to draw our attention to and teach us something about Jesus, and I think this story is the same. So the Gospel of Matthew tells us this story, and the context is really great because remember what happens first is that before the walking on water miracle, Jesus feeds the crowd of people. Matthew tells us there's 5,000 people. It could be 10,000 people if we include everybody, because Matthew says there's just 5,000 men. He feeds them with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and that's an amazing miracle. And so at the end of this miracle, Jesus tells the disciples, hey, go across the lake. He wanted them to go away because there was this movement among the people talking about Jesus in political terms, that they were going to make him their political leader. And Jesus knew this is not an appropriate reaction to you being grateful for the way that I have fed you today. So he sends them away, and he goes away by himself to pray and to meditate and to commune with the Father, right? And so as the disciples are on the water, the Gospels tell us that a storm comes along, and in the middle of the storm, Jesus walks out on the water towards them. And they're afraid, and they think it's a ghost, and you can imagine them panicked, and it's at this moment that Matthew tells us that Peter's reaction, everyone else is screaming, they're probably all afraid, maybe Peter's also afraid, but Peter's reaction in the middle of all this is to say to Jesus, okay, if that's really you, tell me to walk out on the water towards you. That is his way of processing what is happening at that moment. And I think that is really fascinating, and one of the first and most important lessons in this story is that we like to talk about Peter like he's the crazy one, the impulsive one, unreliable one, the one who will betray Jesus in the future. And even in this story, Matthew records the words of Jesus as Jesus is pulling Peter out of the water. He says, "Oh, you of little faith." But let's not forget or ignore that it's actually Peter who says, out of the 12 disciples, it's Peter who has enough faith to say to Jesus, I want to walk out on the water towards you. Peter's the one who actually steps out of the boat in faith and walks towards Jesus. And that is a lesson to all of us. That is the first steps towards realizing and seeing amazing miracles around us, is to actually get out of the boat and start walking like Peter did. And this is the title of one of my favorite books, one of my favorite authors. If you want to walk on water, you have to get out of the boat, by John Ortberg. It is what many preachers love to preach about this passage. We love that. It's what you, if you've been a church person, have heard most of the time when you get to this story. It's this invitation to get out of the boat that we have to say yes to if we're going to experience the adventure and the amazing miracles and the wonder that Jesus wants us to experience in this world. If we constantly think about the risk involved in getting out of the water, if we always play it safe, if we always think about all the things that could go wrong, right, we're never going to do anything amazing, full of wonder. There'll never be adventure in our life. And this is a theme in Peter's life, by the way. Jesus is always present, and Peter's always doing something amazing, absolutely miraculous, because he's taking chances around Jesus. So that's the first lesson, is Peter asks if he can come out of the water, and when he does, he experiences amazing miracles. I think the second lesson, and one of the most important things happening in this story, is that his focus, as long as it is on Jesus and the Master Jesus who's calling him to himself, he will be safe and he'll walk on water. But the moment that Peter takes his focus off of Jesus, and as Matthew tells us, and here's a little gem in this text, Matthew says that Peter began to pay attention to the wind around him. That is, I think Matthew's telling us Peter suddenly, his attention went to the storm around him, to everything that was going wrong around him, to the effects of the waves around him. When Peter began to listen to the wind and pay attention to the wind, that's when he panicked. And that's when he began to sink. And the lesson in this, there's an easy application. The lesson in this is that I believe that when we pay attention to everything that is going wrong, to everything that is trouble, to all the things that are threatening, and our focus is only on that instead of on the Master who's calling us to walk on water, that's when we literally begin to sink in life, isn't it? As long as our eyes are focused on what matters most, as long as our eyes are focused on the goal that for us is Jesus, then all of the wind of pandemic, of financial hardship, of relationship problems, of whatever you find yourselves in, whatever we find ourselves in, if our focus is not on that, but it is on Jesus, we're going to walk on water. Now, the miracle, last thing I want to say, the miracle of walking on water is awesome. The crowd fed by two fishes and 5 loaves. It's 2 fish, I know. Fish, plural, is fish. But this miracle is amazing. The fact that Jesus can turn water to wine is amazing. But as one author, who's one of my favorite authors, Wendell Berry, says, yeah, water to wine is amazing. But the bigger miracle that we miss is that you put seed in dirt, and eventually that seed grows into a vine, and eventually that vine gives us grapes, fruit. That entire process is absolutely miraculous. But because we are so, this moment of walking on water is so amazing to us, we forget that there's miracles happening around us all the time. For me, a beautiful miracle is the miracle of a coffee berry being put on the ground and it growing into a coffee bush, and eventually us being able to harvest those little beans and turning them into this delicious drink we call coffee. And I know that you at the well are coffee people because I've seen your videos, and I know there are some people there who make really amazing coffee, delicious drinks. So I know you appreciate this moment right now. Oh. It's a miracle. But there's also a more profound and bigger miracle, and that is that we're alive. That we live every day, that we live lives that, in this mystery, as Wendell Berry says, we're alive, and within this mystery, we're alive by a miracle every day. We woke up this morning, we're breathing today, and these are real miracles. And then among these amazing daily miracles that we miss, there are people who are walking on waters, people who are hardworking, people who live in a way that defy the limitations of the world in which they live. Those are real water walkers. People who do not allow the winds around them and the pressures around them and the storms and the whatever is happening around them to distract them from what matters most. I want to tell you about a couple of days ago, near here, the grocery store where we get our food. You have to make a line because they're trying to keep us from, to keep us social distanced, and you have to wear a mask to go into the store. And the other day when I was there, I stood in line for half an hour. There was a lady behind me who had been there for half an hour too. And she did not have a mask. So when she got to the front of the line, someone from the store, a store person, told her, "You can't come in, you don't have a mask." This woman was brokenhearted. She began to weep. Imagine the stress of what we're living through together, and then now being told, you don't have a mask, you can't get food right now. Well, the lady behind her, the woman behind her, pulled out a mask from her purse and handed it to her and said, "This is my last one, but you can have it." And it's hard to get masks around here right now. All of us, we saw this moment happening. We were all in tears. We could not believe what we were witnessing. That woman was walking on water. I want to tell you, I have so many of these stories. I want to tell you about our neighbors. I'm looking across the street right now at our neighbor's house. This is where the Malls have lived for the last 45 years. And we moved into our house 17 years ago when our little Allie was about 3 years old. And every year the Malls, they've come over and they've brought flowers to Allie for her birthday. So 3 weeks ago, it was Allie's birthday, and they are very, very advanced in age now. They have a really hard time with any kind of mobility. So it is a strange day to see them actually out and about because they're finding it really hard to move around. But 3 weeks ago, for Allie's birthday, they both got up and they went in their front yard and they cut some flowers. And with great effort, they walked across the street and they came over to the house and they put them on the front porch and they went back home and they called us and they said, "We left flowers for Allie's birthday, her 20th birthday." So sweet. They are walking on water. It's a miracle. And any time we do something amazing like that, in the middle of the storms of life, beyond our limitations, our seeming limitations, we are walking on water. I think about some of you for whom getting up in the morning, some of you who have real hardships, health problems, some of you who are pressed by what will be financial pressures because of this pandemic. Some of you are living through this lock-in and it's been difficult, even though as I read the headlines, I know that things in your country are better than they are here, that maybe there are signs of normalcy returning. We're going to live under the effects of this for a long time. I think about what it is to face all of these problems, all of these challenges, all of these winds and storms raging around us, and live like water walkers, even in the middle of this. And we can do that if we keep our eyes on Jesus. We can live lives of small miracles if we keep our eyes on Jesus. I want to leave you with one last thought, which may be my favorite in this entire text. It is a prayer. And this prayer is actually uttered by Peter. I think it's one of the most profound, most articulate, and most meaningful prayers found in the entire Bible. One of the most profound things said by any human ever. And it is the moment that Peter sinks into the water. He doesn't say, "Jesus, I have a long paragraph prayer telling you how awful it was that I did not trust that you could help me walk on this water or forgive me of my sins and etc., etc. Peter doesn't make any long statement of conviction or faith or doctrinal statement. He simply says these three words: Lord, save me. And that's it. Lord, save me. And that's all that we need to say when we find ourselves lost and sinking and in storms. Those are the three words that we need to say. That's all that needs to be uttered when we find ourselves in a desperate situation. Lord, save me. And how good is Jesus that he's already there with his hand pulling him out of the trouble he's in. Lord, save me. So whatever trouble you find yourself in today, whatever storm you find is swallowing you up today, those are the only three words you have to say. Lord, save me. And how good is Jesus that he will reach out and pull you out of those waters. And so may you today find great adventure as you get out of the boat and take this amazing risk that Peter took to walk towards Jesus on the water. May you experience the daily miracles of being alive and become a water walker, doing the amazing and beautiful acts of kindness around you. And may you find your greatest joy always in serving him, our Jesus, out of an enraptured heart that has been captivated by his irresistible beauty and unfathomable love. God bless you all.